Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of the end times. On this program, I want to talk about some areas in Scripture that Satan does not want you to know about, especially in this first half of the tribulation period, which we are currently going through. And I'm talking specifically about the identities of the scarlet beast and the whore of Babylon in Revelation, about the identities of the ram and the goat in Daniel chapter number 8, about the identities of the kings in Daniel chapter number 11, about the identities of the bear, the lion, and the leopard in Daniel chapter number 7. This video is also a response to P.P. Simmons, and I guess that would be Carl Gallup's, who recently made several videos about the identity of the whore of Babylon in Revelation. In his first video, he claimed that the whore of Babylon was the Catholic Church. And of course, that is nonsense. To his credit, at the end of that video, he did say he wasn't sure. Well, let me assure you, Carl Gallups, you were mistaken. And then he did another video a few weeks later, in which he said that the whore of Babylon was the United States. Okay, now you've got it right, Mr. Gallups. But let me assure you, Mr. Gallups, God is not the author of confusion. I hope you delete that video in which you claim that the whore of Babylon symbolizes the Catholic Church, because that is a grievous error. People really need to know in these end times what the truth is, because John makes it clear you must go out from Babylon. And why must you leave Babylon? In order to avoid her plagues. Now, the previous entities which I spoke about, the lion, the bear, the leopard, the last king of the north, the last king of the south, the whore of Babylon, and the scarlet beast, that all refers to the end-time struggle between capitalism in the west and communism in the east. This end-time struggle is between two systems, neither of which is worthy. Both must be destroyed before Jesus can set up his millennial kingdom. Now, in this first half of the tribulation period, capitalism will be destroyed by communism. And of course, at the end of the 7 years of tribulation, at the Battle of Armageddon, Jesus will destroy the one-world communist tyranny. Now, on this program, I also want to talk about another great error that you will find in many videos on YouTube, and that is that people are saying that the whore of Babylon in Revelation 17 is not the same as the whore of Babylon in Revelation 18. Again, this is nonsense. I want to prove to you that John is talking about the exact same entity in both Revelation 17 and 18. First of all, let's start out by looking at Revelation 17, verse 1. Come here, I will show to you the judgment of the great whore that sits on many waters. Now, this description in 17 is almost identical to John's description of the whore of Babylon in chapters 18 and 19. Let's look at 19, verse 2. For true and right are his judgments, for he has judged the great whore. And in 17, verse 2, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. And John uses almost the exact same terminology in 18, verse 3. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And in 18, verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall mourn her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. So now I think we are beginning to see the difference between the whore of Babylon in Revelation 17 and in Revelation 18. In Revelation 17, St. John describes the whore of Babylon, that is, our own decadent Western civilization, but in 18, he describes our destruction. Now let's continue in Revelation 17, verse 2. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. And now, in 18 verse 3, we find almost the exact same description. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And John continues in 17 verse 4, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. And now in 18:16, almost an identical description. And saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen, and purple, and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buys their merchandise any more. So notice again, in chapter 17, John describes the whore of Babylon, whereas in 18, he describes her destruction. And also please note that the merchants of the world weep and mourn because no one will buy their merchandise anymore. To say that this is the Vatican or the Catholic Church is worse than a joke. It is going to lead people to their destruction. You must know who it is you are to go out from if you want to avoid her plagues. Elsewhere in chapter 18, John describes 28 different items which the whore of Babylon imports, including, by the way, automobiles. Of course, John describes them as chariots. And as I am sure most of you know, the United States is the greatest importer in the world. The whore of Babylon is not the Catholic Church, nor Israel, nor any other religious entity. The whore of Babylon is our own decadent Western capitalism. Continuing now in 17, verse number 5. And on her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great. Remember that phrase, Babylon the Great. The mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And now let's look at 18, verse 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is your judgment come. Now I hate to say it, but judgment in 1 hour sounds like a nuclear holocaust. And a similar description in 18, verse 21. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Now let me pause here a minute, because I realize that many people say that the whore of Babylon, being a city, cannot represent the United States. But John often interchanges city and country. As another example, he calls Jerusalem Sodom and Egypt. Therefore, if Egypt and Jerusalem can be synonymous, certainly a city and the United States can be synonymous. And in 17 verse 6, And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And now in chapter 18, almost the exact same description. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain on the earth. And in 19 verse 2, For true and righteous are his judgments, for he has judged the great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and has avenged the blood of his servants at her hands. Please notice the four groups: prophets, saints, those who are slain on earth, and servants. The other day, a YouTuber sent me a message saying that the whore of Babylon is a Catholic Church, and these martyrs and saints refer to people like Joan of Arc. Well, I admit Joan of Arc was martyred, and I believe a diocese in Burgundy took part in it, and I believe that was because they were cooperating with the English. But I really doubt if in this century God is going to destroy the Vatican because of Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc is now a saint in the Roman Catholic Church. The fact is, the whore of Babylon is primarily the United States of America. And these prophets, saints, and martyrs and servants who she kills refers to the aborted babies. If you watch my other programs, you know that these are four particular groups. These are the four groups who will reign with Jesus during the millennium. And what John is saying here is that of the 50 million babies aborted in America since Roe v. Wade, many of them would have been raptured. Many of them would have gone with the protected Catholics into the desert. Many of them would have been Jews who converted. They have all been killed through the horror of abortion. And as John makes clear, God is going to avenge their deaths. 17 verse 16, and the 10 horns which you saw on the beast. Now the 10 horns symbolize all the nations of the world. The beast is the scarlet beast of international communism. These shall hate the whore, that's us, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. And in 18 verse 8, almost the exact same description. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. Of course, I fully understand that most Americans cannot conceive that we could ever lose a war. But according to Bible prophecy, Barack Obama will lead us to defeat in World War III. That is the meaning of the destruction of the whore of Babylon. So in conclusion, please do not listen to the voices of confusion. Satan is the author of confusion and delusion in these end times. He does not want you to know who the whore of Babylon is, nor the scarlet beast. He does not want you to know who the goat nor the ram are in Daniel. He does not want you to know who the kings of the north and south are in Daniel chapter number 11. I have covered all these topics on other programs. You need to know, because you must leave Babylon, our own decadent Western civilization. And if you would like more information, I offer a free book called Revelation Unraveled. If you would like a copy, you can write to the address you see on your screen, or send me a note to my YouTube account.